and welcome. You're tuning in to Unbreakable Hope with me, your host, Jessica Rose. This podcast is all about seeking the light. In each episode, we chat with someone who has either overcome the darkness or who is actively spreading light within their own community. So let's jump into today's episode. Today's special guest is Marvin, and we're going to be focusing a little bit more on astrology, but also tapping into soul healing and hypnotism. I hope you stick around for this episode because it's important for a lot of us to hear about ways that we're healing our body and how we view ourselves, our true, real selves. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today. I'm really excited to jump into our conversation.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I just love the title of your podcast, Unbreakable Hope. That's a very nice, it says a whole lot about our life and how to maximize our dreams and goals and desires.
Yes, I'm glad that's your feedback because it took me forever to decide on a title for the podcast. And I had even drafted a completely different logo and design for another name. And it just came to me one day and I said, you know what? I think this one really speaks volume. So I'm glad that when you saw that, you got that from it too. And you have such a really cool, diverse life experience and all these really amazing things that you have a talent in, which also speaks to Unbreakable Hope and being able to support people and having that unbreakable spirit. So I'd love to pass it over to you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more, and we can dive into some more details and these really cool, amazing things.
Well, my name is Marvin Wilkerson, and I'm a master astrologer. I'm a master hypnotist. I'm a master neurolinguistic programmer, and I've been studying metaphysics for well over 50 years. My first book was to get me started was Judah Krishnamurti's Think on These Things, where it allowed me to think for myself instead of following the religious dogma that I had been indoctrinated up to 18 years old. And so that's when I started breaking free, when I could start reading for myself, thinking for myself, and evaluating a lot of the things that, brought me to where I am today.
I love that. And like 50 years of experience in this. You bring up a really good point about religion. And I think that goes with a lot of people's family dynamics. I hear from so many people, if religion was part of their life growing up, that it's not a part of their life now, or they've changed maybe the denomination if they're in Christianity, or they've just completely changed which religion that they've been in. Where did this start for you as far as going towards the stars and getting involved in astrology and finding a path?
When we're indoctrinated by going to church, and then they teach their biblical version, I think it occurred to me quite some years back that religion is a system, and there's many millions of people that need a system. The universal consciousness is a system. So when we learn to live within a system, we learn to live within the laws and the structure that we are now able to live on those terms. Whether you believe in metaphysics or whether you believe in religion, it all boils down to, are you walking the talk? If you walk the talk of the Bible, well, you'd probably be a pretty good person. If you're walking the talk of metaphysics, you'll probably be a pretty good person, as well as on your path to self-realization. So there's a lot to understanding that religion is just a system. And this is why I don't have a problem with people that are very religious. It is And when you live in the buckle of the Bible Belt in Tennessee, the people that come to me can be very religious. Well, it doesn't make any difference to me because I know the Bible. I've read the Bible. I understand the quotations that Jesus Christ said that's in the red. And the thing about it is if you read just what he said and not accept what you were told he said, now you're evaluating for yourself. And you can, and there is no greater power in the world than you. You are connected to universal consciousness. And so it's all of your energy and your frequency that you use that can either separate you further from universal consciousness or bring you closer to universal consciousness, which is much more of self-realization.
I love that. That's something that I know personally, I thrive off of structure and checklists. There's a part where it's really good neurologically. It's also good to change up routine. Like, there's research on both of them, but having a structure. But I love the point that you made though, is that are you following that structure? And I think that's where a lot of people get frustrated when it comes to religion is that you can say that you're something, but that doesn't mean you're actually acting on it. You're not following the faith. So I love conversations like this. I think it's so much fun because we're talking about the things that actually affect people on a daily basis. So you've been doing work in astrology for, you said, over 50 years, which is really cool. I love getting to have people who have so much wisdom in life that they've been able to experience, and so many people you've been able to help through this. What got you started maybe on your own journey, and then how did that shift to where you're now helping other people through astrology?
Let me go back and give you an answer to what you were discussing there. Structure is and routines, and you said something very interesting, which I've heard it before and thought it through. The basic equation that we all need to live in is now. And when you live in the now, well, then the structure is, or the equation is to live your excitement, follow your passion, and let go of the outcome. So whatever is being presented to you in your life, that is what you are supposed to be facing. That is what you're supposed to be experiencing. We understand that all desire comes from your soul. You're not making up desire. Your soul is giving you the desire. And when your soul gives you desire, it's giving it to you for the purpose of you responding to the actions and the activities and events in the world and people in the world, so that you can now correct perception, correct error in perspective, so that you can come more in self-realization or center of your values and your principles and who you are. And I think that kind of segues into what was so dynamic for me when I got my first astrology reading at 18 years old, is that from a older person that was from England. And of course, astrology in England is much different than it is over here. It's almost, I won't say celebrated, but it's very largely accepted. But astrology, when I got my first reading, it was just incredible to me that somebody could know me to that extent and not know me. Mm-hmm. And so that really piqued my interest into, wow, now this is something that I really want to look at. And of course, astrology is a very deep, deep subject that goes on and on and on and on. So it gives me a lifelong study. It gives me the understanding of mythology. It gives me the understanding of energy. And of course, that's what it all boils down to is just it's just simple energy. And you know, a lot of people are breaking it all up. Well, I'm an Aquarius, I'm a Libra, I'm this, I'm that. Well, it's so much deeper and broader than that kind of uh, belief and understanding of what really astrology is. It's a map of energy, and um, when people come to me, they usually come to me because they have certain issues um, that they want to get a greater understanding for them. I mean, there could, you know, you have a lot of people, especially come to a hypnotist. I mean, they've got conflicts in their life, and they don't know why. So my job is, and all that I do is to help them understand what energy is working in their life, how they're using that energy. Is it is it is there another way to use this energy? And that helps often break the confusion for people about what's going on in their life and in their relationships.
Mm. I love that. I personally have never experienced hypnotism, and I actually don't know if anyone that I know has, and if they have, they haven't shared it with me. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about what is the role that hypnotism plays in being able to have a better understanding of oneself and moving forward on a growth journey.
Well, your subconscious mind creates 85% of your to 95% of your reality.
Mm-hmm.
Your conscious mind is only responsible for 5% of your reality. That's its whole frontal lobe. So when you understand, I always acquiesce to the phrase of Carl Jung. When the conscious mind knows what's in the subconscious mind, you'll be enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
So you've come into this life, you live this life with preconceived conditionings, and programmings, and preconceived notions of past experiences that are in error. And that all lies in the subconscious mind. So if the subconscious is creating your reality, I think that that would be the first place that you would want to start to figure out why am I in conflict? Why am I in confusion? Why have I got habits that I don't like, that I know are not good for me? So there's lots of reasons to understand hypnosis because it helps close the gap between you and your maker, which so does meditation. All you're trying to do is close the gap between you and your spiritual maker, your universal consciousness, or God, or whatever you prefer to call it.
Mm. I think that's it just, I keep thinking in my head as you're talking about I believe it was a Pixar movie, Soul. Have you seen it? Um,
The Who?
I believe it's Pixar or Disney. Someone's going to correct me. I'm pretty sure it's Pixar. The movie Soul, like Soul. I can't even think of the actor's name, but the concept of the movie is that these little soul bubbles are trying to find, but before they come down to earth, they're trying to find what is their passion, what is their purpose, and there's a soul that is basically, he's been around forever and he can't find his passion or his purpose, therefore he can't go to earth. He has to have this before he can go. But it's a lot of these same kind of concept and ideas, is because then it's that inner dialogue and thinking a certain way and thinking you can't do something and almost talking yourself out of it. I love that you also brought up like habits, because a lot of us, we have a bad habit that we want to get rid of, but we keep doing it. And the one that comes to my mind that I think, it's like smoking. A lot of people know there's health consequences to smoking, but people still smoke and they smoke for a reason. And I've talked to a lot of people who say, well, I want to quit, but I just don't know how, or I've tried quitting and I haven't been able to. So that kind of example came into my mind too. I'm sure that's something that you've experienced with somebody with a habit probably similar to that, is saying, hey, I want to, I just don't know how. So you're saying that something like hypnosis is a way to be able to tap into that subconscious mind to really kind of figure it out and then move forward from there.
Well, I mean, all habits are the same. They come from the same place in the brain.
Mm,
So what you're trying to do is you're trying to discover what is going on in the consciousness, the conscious mind, that you are experiencing life in a way that has now programmed into the subconscious mind the need to smoke, because the conscious mind and the body are connected. The subconscious mind and the conscious mind, they're the only connection there is that the subconscious will follow whatever the conscious mind wants.
mm,
Okay. And so when you're talking to a smoker, well, it's usually stress or anxiety is the number one reason. So it breaks down to be pretty simple. When you start smoking or any habit, you start it for particular reasons. Like smoking, you start it to be cool, you start it to be older, you start it to be more mature or whatever. You think it's, everybody wants to be James Dean. But the truth of the matter is, and that gives you a serotonin dopamine release in the brain, which is a cocktail that everybody lives for. So it makes you feel good. But in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the brain says, well, that doesn't do anything for me anymore. And so you stop getting the dopamine release in the brain. Well, now what you do is the body is now stressing out, and the subconscious mind reads the body because it doesn't use language. So now when you're stressed out, your go-to is a cigarette or sugar or food or whatever it is, or biting your fingernails or pulling your hair. So your body is what is being responded to by the subconscious mind. And
mm,
so this is why it's so important to work with the subconscious, so that you get a clarity on understanding that you're picking up a cigarette when this action occurs.
mm,
You lose 50% of your muscle strength every time you have a negative thought.
mm,
Okay. So now the subconscious reads that. If you walked into work late and you said, oh my God, I'm late for work. Well, the conscious mind then says, you could be fired, you could lose your job. How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to put food on the table? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? The subconscious is observing that all the time. It's wired like your Neanderthal sisters and brothers. When you're late, when they were late, they got eat. So the subconscious mind takes being late as a threat. And when you have a threat, the subconscious mind responds to that threat, which is going to somehow calm your body down and keep you safe. That's its number one job. That's what it always says. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? It's monitoring you. And when your body gets uptight, when you stress out, when you get emotional, when you get anxious, that all causes a subconscious mind reaction.
mm.
And the subconscious mind keeps a pretty depth good file.
Definitely. I can relate to quite a bit of that myself.
Right.
Especially with the being late. I remember going into a work, it was already a place I didn't want to be at in the first place, but then I was constantly putting my GPS on, even though I knew how to get there. but it's like, I'm already going to be late. I'm going to get there when I get there. Right. But I still put like the GPS on to know like how late I was going to be, as if that was making a difference. It was really just working me up more. So once I really made that connection of like, this is actually not helpful. This is making me more anxious and more stressed out. And like you're saying that threat response just completely overtaking everything. So by the time I get to work, I'm not really getting anything done because now I'm just completely taken over by all those emotions. So I love as you're saying that, I'm like, yep, I could relate back to a moment. I can relate back to a moment where that's that too.
Yeah, because I mean, the conscious mind doesn't need you. I mean, you may go into work late, but you're not going to be fired. But the conscious mind can think of whatever it wants to think anyway. So you're not in control of the conscious mind. It wants control of you to begin with. It's looking for the gratification that's going to give it power over you. And that's what the ego structure and the conscious mind is about.
I like that. You also have something I've never heard of, karmic imprints. So
Yeah.
that's something new for me. So what does that look like when as we're tying all this in and all these different aspects of what is a karmic imprint, and then how does that affect
A
us?
karmic imprint will be when you continuously do something that acts outside of your core self, out of your center, out of your authentic self. If it's outside of the authentic self, it's either been conditioned and programmed in this life, which case it was conditioned and programmed because you experience in another lifetime, you hold on to the error of a perception perspective, which now must be addressed. So any habits, any things that you do that is consistently working against your best interest is obviously an imprint. We call them soul fragmentation. And there is so many things that causes soul fragmentation. Um, Everything from getting sick, everything from having surgery, anything that causes an emotional issue within you is a soul fragmentation. And so this is why it's so important to really stay in touch with what's going on in your life at every moment in time. And so this also leads into soul contracts and so forth. So some of the causes is accidents, near death experiences, emotional suppression, depression, toxic relationships or abandonment, war, disasters, witnessing violence. All of these call fragmentation. All of these are from the soul's perspective of something that you need to reevaluate and experience. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the soul is leading you into the desires to face certain events. And it's like, I love the way Einstein said it. Everything has been determined. Every beginning, every ending, all forces over which we have no control. It is determined for the insect as well as the star, human beings, vegetables, cosmic dust. We all dance to a mysterious tune intoned in the distance by an invisible piper. Is that a beautiful statement? Now, a lot of people are going to, they reject the concept because they are attached to this idea. Well, I have free will. Well, I tell you what free will is. Free will is an attitude. You have a free will to choose whatever attitude you want at any time in your life, whether it's a good event, a bad event, you can have an attitude that you choose. And the other thing, the only other free will you have is you got free will to use your creative abilities at any point in time. Mm. Now that's it. How you're going to come to self-realization and enlightenment is not in your, is nowhere near your ego structure in your conscious mind. It is guided by your soul and your soul group. And we all have soul contracts that we have to fulfill, that we came into this lifetime to accomplish.
So you're talking about a lot of these soul fragments and kind of these pieces of our soul that get broken by these, or separated by these different events. Is there a way or a process where we're able to bring all that back together?
Make authentic choices that you respond to, authentically you, not from conditioning, not from programming, from your early life. I mean, let's think about this for a second. You've been told 21,000 times before the age of 20 who you are, who they are, what the world is, and your place in it. Mm-hmm. Now, it starts with your parents. It continues on with your siblings, on with your teachers, your friends, and of course, society, and whoever you hold up to a pedestal. These are our programmers. So when you're using programming to respond to life, you're not authentically you. You're not in your own center. And so you have to come, when you're confronted with everything in life, what is your choice that helps you align with whatever you're experiencing and whatever you, in a way that you prefer to experience it? It's just like relationships. You know, relationships are built on the idea of each person objectifying what's in the other person. Mm. Because we understand as hypnotists, you can't know, you cannot see in another person what is in you. Mm. And by that very framework of relationships, and especially intimate relationships, that's giving you an opportunity to look at a situation and say, yeah, I had skin in the game there. That isn't the way I would prefer to act or respond. So what was your intention? If your intention was, you had intention in responding in a negative way to protect the fear, well, you're outside of yourself. You're outside of your center. So the point being is everything we face in life gives us an opportunity to understand ourselves, understand our intention. And when we understand ourselves and intention, then we can decide if we want to take responsibility for it, if it's the way we want to respond, or the way we don't want to respond like that because it causes conflict. You got to understand the seed of our destruction is the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
That's the seed of our destruction. And when we suppress, with suppression is hiding what we don't want somebody to see. And then if we shove it down, it becomes internalized. Well, now it's got to come back out. And when it comes back out, it's a whole lot more uglier. So you got suppression and repression. When you repress something, it's going to come back, and it's got to be played out through another person. If you suppress something, then you're hiding who you are. Because I want to be loved in a certain way. I tell people, I say, look, I want to be loved for all my warts in all my blemishes. And if you love me for all my warts and blemishes, well, then you really love me. But if I try to hide from you who I am by trying to hide what I truly feel and think and so forth, well, then you're only loving a mirage of who I am. I don't want to be loved like that. I want to be loved wholly and totally.
I love that. I think, especially in relationships, my husband used to always say that we train our humans like we train our dogs, right? So we train, and this is how we want to be treated. And I tell people all the time when it comes to my husband and I, it's probably like the number one question, like, how are you still with him? How are you still staying? Is that when we got together about our core values and principles and like the deeper stuff. I joke we laid like here's all the skeletons in my closet. You still want to talk? Okay, so like you were saying, like love me for my warts. It's like, hey, love me for who I am. And I feel like my husband truly did that. Love me for who I am in that moment, but he also loved me for who I was going to become, knowing that in that moment, that's not how I was going to stay the rest of our lives together. Because I'm a believer, and I feel like you are too, is like as humans, like we grow and we develop, and we do change over time and maybe embracing more of ourselves. Because like you said, you spend our whole beginner years of our lives where we're being told how to do everything, how to go to the bathroom, how to get dressed, what you're learning in school. So you really start finding who you are and what that identity is. And I think this is a big part of it too, right? Is people really discovering that soul piece within themselves and how can they heal that and move forward, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, so this has given us an opportunity. One of the things that I've just came across here the other day, I was watching a baseball show on Ricky Henderson, which has died. He was a great second baseman for the Yankees. And he used to do interviews and he used to say, Ricky be Ricky. So he would talk about himself in third person. And I thought that was so remarkable. And my wife was watching it and she says, yeah, that was like a client asked me the other day, how did I stay married to Marvin for 30 years? And she says, I let Marvin be Marvin. And I think the bottom line to all relationships is we have to let people be themselves. Mm-hmm. And we got to get rid of the critical way that is we have to get rid of our judgment of how we think other people should be and just let them be who they are. And I love the way Ruth Ginsburg said how she was married for something like 60 years or whatever it was. She said, well, you have to pick the arguments that are worth fighting.
Yeah.
You have to let go of things that aren't worth it. Mm-hmm. And I think that this helps us to just accept the person for being who they're trying to become or trying to be. And then you can share honesty and you don't have to suppress. You don't have to hide. When we let Jessica be Jessica, you're perfect.
Yeah.
Because you're responsible. You're conscientious about who and what you are and what you choose to be. That you're the only one that knows what lines up with your center, with your authentic you. I don't. Even your husband don't. That's all personal consciousness anyway.
Yeah. I say I make the decisions of my day based on if my soul can rest at the end of the day. And if I don't feel like my soul can rest at the end of the day, I have to take action to correct or fix or change whatever it is that is bothering me. And that's what's really kept me going the last, almost 5-6 years of caregiving for my husband is just, this is what's right by me. And this is what I feel is the best for me and my life right now and my life long term. I think it's sometimes hard for people to, I'm gonna say maybe dig deep and tap into the deeper understanding of themselves. Is there like where would you recommend as like a beginner for someone who is maybe listening and saying, "Hey, I need to do some more inner work and I need to look into my soul and try and do some healing and growth from there." What are some beginner steps or tips that you have for someone?
Well, I one of my favorite teachers was Dr. David Hawkins,
Mm,
and he wrote the book Letting Go, and he studied consciousness for well over 30 years from around the world. So he's the one that created the map of consciousness. So from my experience in dealing with people, there's things we need to let go of, whether it be early programming from parents, how we were treated, how we grew up, um, any number of things. I mean, I'll never forget the woman that was struggling with a relationship while I had her current husband in the office with us because she was so sick and she was trying to quit smoking, and she kept talking on and on about how her past relationship had just caused her so many conflicts and destroying her life and all of that. And it finally got to the point. So I said, "Well, how long you been divorced from him?" She said, 20 years. I said, that's when I started pulling out the top part of my hair here. Um, I'm kidding. Yeah, but that epitomizes the problems that we all face. If there's only now, and you have to understand that whatever you had, was whatever was in the last moment or yesterday is no longer. It's gone. You can make a new choice and a new. You can reconcile perspectives now. You can't do anything about yesterday's. And I think that that's one of the biggest lessons that people can learn is let go of all of your yesterdays. My favorite question to clients is if you let go of all of your yesterdays but kept all your talents, tools, and abilities, who would you be?
mm, yeah.
And
I,
my favorite answer from a client was, I'd be fantastic. I said, you're right, you would be. So it's those things that we harbor inside of us from yesterday's.
mm,
And then you have the anxious people that hold on to events that are fearful of your yesterdays being duplicated in the now.
mm,
Well, that ain't no way to be creative in the now, because when you're creative, you're not even conscious. You're in a creative moment. You've lost your sense of identity. You're in a creative experience.
mm,
And so I work on that quite a bit. To worrying about tomorrow is depression. If you don't have, you're worried about what maybe, might be, could be, should be, which are all lies. There's no such thing as should.
mm,
Um, I keep telling them, I say, do you think God put you here to be shoulded? I
mm,
don't think so.
mm,
He gave you all of his power to create whatever you choose. And we go buy cars and he builds universes with the same power. So if you want to know, if you want to break depression, then look at what visions that you have. What would you like? What is a vision that comes to mind you'd like to accomplish?
mm,
That's living your excitement. Go towards it.
mm. And
I like the way Maxwell Maltz put it, psycho-cybernetics. Live your excitement, which means living it every day, one moment at a time, and working towards what you truly want as a goal.
mm,
And the subconscious mind will create it. I mean, that's the other thing is you keep thinking you're the doer. You're not the doer of anything. Spirit's the doer. So these are all concepts that take a real process of um, accepting the concepts, number one, then being responsible for living them when they come up, and uh, practicing to stay in center.
I think that's a really important part is being in the here and now. I like how you say that, practicing to stay in center and focusing. And that's something that I think I struggled with the most last year. I'd say I'm getting caught up in the day to day, just all the day to day stuff that keeps coming and piling on and piling on. That will always, there'll always be the things, like the washer breaking and, different things like that, right? The day to day is going to file up, but being able to really, what is that center point for you? And you have a book about soul fusion healing. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that and give you some time to share with our listeners, because I think you have so much knowledge that you've shared already today that I would love to hear a little bit about how much more knowledge you would gain by reading your book.
Well, that book, Soul Fusion Healing, Integrating Body, Mind, and Soul, is really a culmination of all of my studies, all of my experiences, all of my learning, and so it walks through a lot of the conflicts that we bring on ourselves, such as negative self-talk. I talk about how that we can integrate and trust the body, because the body keeps the score. And so when you trust the body, that's what's going on in your thinking mind. So allowing your subconscious to be the power behind you instead of your ego structure is important. I talk a little bit about astrology and what real astrology is about, which is just really, it's about energy. And so I study the energy of what is going on and how you are manifesting it. Mm. And so I talked a little bit about some of what's coming in the future as we go transcend a Piscean age, going into Aquarian age, because I felt like that would help people understand whatever's going on in now is helping us, humanity, transition. Mm. And so I like to put the positive slant on astrology as far as the ability to help people understand their path in life, what their soul came into life to learn. And then, of course, I work a lot with the subconscious and the power of the three minds, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. But one of the primary brains is the solar plexus brain, which has all your nervous system comes into a bundle in the center of your gut. So when that nerve bundle responds, it sends information to the vagus nerve up to your subconscious mind, which now the subconscious mind is responding to the body. And so I like to teach a lot about that. I use a lot of my metaphysics in teaching the spirituality and how to stay connected from third dimension all the way up to fifth dimension, and how to recognize aspects of each one of those. I also bring in quantum healing technique that I do in hypnosis, which the ultimate quantum healing, and Deepak Chopra's talked about it, Joe Dispenza's talked about it, the dancing Suvis used to use music to get there. But when you can get deep enough into your higher self, your higher frequency, you lose a sense of identity. When you lose your sense of identity and separateness, you become one with the universal consciousness. When you become one with universal consciousness, you are automatically perfected because there is no imperfections in that arena. So I talk extensively about that and healing yourself by overcoming the fears and the positive and the attitudes that what has ever brought upon, whether it's been brought in through your DNA or your epigenetics, or it's brought into your subconscious mind. It can be healed. You are a healer. Jesus, my favorite quote is Jesus Christ used to say, "Go, your faith has healed you." Well, when you have enough faith and belief in yourself of who you are, which is ye are all gods, which means you are a co-creator of life, well, then you can heal yourself. You can heal the imbalances. And there is plenty, plenty, plenty of people to have done it to prove it. Mm. And so I cover all of those things and more in my book, The Soul Fusion. I think that we're all working with trying to fuse who we are and what we are with our higher self. And then ultimately, that gives us the free will, once we've achieved all that, to then have universal free will to be creative in anything we want in the universe without having the oversoul dictate why we're here.
That sounds like a lot of knowledge. I mean, you said you put in your years of experience and research into this book, and it sounds very, very interesting, and I'm going to get so much out of it when I read it. I love, I mean, we've talked about so many really great things today, and a lot of it is healing ourselves, right? And taking that step that's needed forward to heal ourselves to then grow and actually move forward in our lives rather than being blockaded by our past, whether it be what's happened to us or what we were told about us, and just really trying to move forward. What would be the best way? I know that you do a lot of amazing stuff, but if somebody wanted to connect with you and talk to you about your services, what's the best way for them to reach you and connect with you?
Well, I have 3 websites. The hypnosis website is BL Hypnosis, betterlifehypnosis.com. Astromarv.com is my astrology website. And then that's all pulled together with my book as well in soulfusionhealing.com. And so you can reach me through any of those sites. And I am, open to talk to anybody about whatever I can help, however I can help them.
This is definitely great. I think it's a piece that a lot of people, when they're going into healing, especially when we get bogged down by illness, that we tend to forget this piece of ourselves, of our body, our souls, that piece that needs to be healed. And you mentioned, the Body Keep store. I think I've probably mentioned that on a lot of our episodes here. So if people haven't at least even looked at a summary of the Body Keep scores, really knowing like our body, we put our body through a lot, but we also need to be able to take the time to give into it and feed it in order for it to heal. And I think this is a great opportunity for people to take that time to say, what does that look like for me and how can I heal? And you're an amazing resource and a wealth of knowledge for people to be able to reach out to and do that. I feel like we could talk like for a whole hour about each of these individual things. We're just barely like a little bit here, a little bit here. I want to make sure if there's maybe something we've forgotten, or if you have some final thoughts for people as we're wrapping up this episode to really, I mean, I feel like this was very inspiring of all the work that you've done and the healing and growth that you've done as well.
Well, I think with what we have going on with this culture and society in this country, the biggest thing is to realize that if we use the metaphor of going down a calm stream and we're on a boat and we're just gently going down the stream, that eventually we're going to reach the rapids. And we're in the rapids. And if we just stay centered and navigate our way through whatever we're being faced with in the moment, the rapids will come to an end and we'll be in calm seas again. So let go of your yesterdays, let go of tomorrows, just stay in the present and be the best you can be.
I love that. That's so sweet. And you have such a calming personality and presence in how you're able to present this beautiful work that you're doing. I want to thank you so much for your time and your insight and being willing to share your wisdom with our listeners. I really greatly appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, Jessica, and what you do. And Unbreakable Hope is we all have to have unbreakable hope, and you can help people do that.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. If you found this episode inspiring, please share it with someone you never know who needs more light in their life. May this serve as a reminder that there's always darkness in the world. Do not let it consume you. Always seek the light. Please take a moment to do the good old subscribe, rate, and review. Your support means so much to me, and it helps me spread more light and love. Until next time, be kind, be loving, be human, and don't ever let anyone steal your hope.